And welcome back, everybody, to the Cultured Gamer Podcast. This week, we're going to talk about GDC and Unreal Engine 5 offering a true glimpse at the future of gaming. All that and more on the Cultured Gamer. And welcome back, everybody. This is the Cultured Gamer episode 5. I am your host, Ethan Carmona. And with me today is our special guest, Taylor Murphy.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back, Taylor. Yeah, I was feeling a little under the weather last week. We couldn't do the show, and it was all bad. I had the high fevers, crazy cough, phlegm galore. You guys didn't want to hear any of that. So,
Oh, it happens. It happens. My son had a stomach bug last week, and he kind of took the house down with him. So,
yeah, that happens, especially when you got a house full of kids. But
yep.
Let's jump right into it. What are you playing this week, Taylor?
So I had finished, completely finished Hogwarts Legacy. I'm trying to work on the Platinum, which requires me to start new files for all of the houses, which I'll get to that when I get to that. I was trying to finish just some of the little side quests, like getting all the Merlin puzzles done and finding the last of those 2 demiguise statues, and then while I was getting tired of the monotony of doing that, I actually started the Destiny 2 Lightfall campaign, and
Nice.
I'm really digging it. I know a lot of people are giving it mixed reviews on the story, but I like some of the new things, and it's Iron Banner week, and they did the best thing imaginable. They brought back my favorite Iron Banner gear from Destiny 1, the wolf head cape and all that stuff. Yep. So I'm like, oh my god, I have to get all of this stuff. So I'm going to have my Guardian dressed like I did 8 years ago.
Destiny 1 style. Nice. Yep. Nice. Yeah, I have that Lightfall DLC as well. I'm kind of sitting on it right now. My backlog is just way too vast.
Let's get there, yeah.
Yeah, I was chopping down a little bit of Devil May Cry 5 earlier today. I think I got to chapter 3. Finally making some progress in that game. I kind of did some stop and starts with that a few times and for the very first chapter and prologue, and just couldn't progress. Just wasn't finding the time to get through it. And this morning we had a quiet moment and kind of blast through it, and had a good time. So I was playing that and the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection a little bit, getting the taste of the classic Street Fighter, the very first one from the late 80s. So it's
lots of fun stuff, right? I mean, I was actually looking at the PlayStation Plus catalog's big update, and I downloaded Ghostwire and Immortal Phoenix Rising and the Untitled Goose Game, and nice. I sideloaded. I put those all into my console, and sometime this weekend I'm going to try some of that stuff too. But I do love me some retro Street Fighter. That's the best.
Nice. I actually have a few games that were still installed from the discs that I no longer have anymore. Oh. So now that they entered PlayStation Plus, I'm able to play those games again. So
my only gripe with the latest drop, and this is a legitimate gripe, and a lot of people are complaining about it, is that the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot was dropped as part of PlayStation Plus, and everyone's like, "Holy crap!" Version. Yes, but it's only the PS4 version. Which is a bummer. So I can play my game on the PS4 version, or I can put the disc back in and get the PS5 one to work. And I think that's it's another one of the Final Fantasy remake situations where they eventually, like maybe in like a few months, they're going to retcon it and fix it and give us both titles and let people do what they want. But for now, it's just kind of a headache and people are annoyed by it.
Yeah, I think they definitely want people to buy that PS5 iteration first before they hook it up with any freebies. Yeah. I think if you pre-own the game on PS4 digital or physical, you getting that PS5 upgrade is the biggest freebie you're going to get for now.
Oh yeah, and I think honestly, if they don't give it to me anytime soon, I'll wait for a proper sale to drop, and then I'll just buy it for like $10 like it was last summer sale. So it won't be paying an extra $10 to get that license for the PS5 is 100% worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so nice looking on PS5. I was shocked by how cool it was.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Let's bang out some of these breaking topics because we got quite a bit of stuff to cover today and not a lot of time. So let's bang through them. Valve announced this week that Counter-Strike 2, is officially announced, and it's coming this summer. This is going to be an update to the current Counter-Strike Go. They're going to revamp all the assets, all the tick counting measures, you name it, everything's going to get a fresh revamp. So this is going to be entering a limited test in the spring, and definitely looking forward to this.
That's such an amazing drop, because I remember playing the first Counter-Strike game on PC when I was in high school.
It's crack.
Yeah. And I remember some of the like during that era of time with all, like, before they started like cracking down on all the heavy
Internet
modding, but
cafes.
there were so many mods that people are having fun with. I remember running around as like different characters with my guns, and it was like, it's such a ridiculous thing. And then they shut down the mods, and everyone was a little bummed out. But then it was still the most insanely addictive game of the early 2000s.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember in my late teens when this game was really blowing up, all the internet cafes that literally created their businesses around this one game and their LAN setup. And so many nights at midnight playing at internet cafes, my mom was probably wondering where I was at. I was safe, or
Yep.
mostly safe, depending on what city I was playing in that day.
No,
And
it's funny because there was a comic book shop that Michael and I used to go to,
mhm.
and when Counter-Strike dropped out, literally they did that same thing. They cleared out this whole section at the front of the store, put up 25 computers, had this massive setting, and everybody was just playing Counter-Strike. So the back of the comic book store became the comic side. The front of it, as you walked in, became this whole LAN cafe of Counter-Strike, and it was insane. And then you had like one or two lone people that are not on Counter-Strike; they'd be playing StarCraft, and like that was about it.
So let's move on to the next story. It seems like there's going to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game in development based on the recent comic series, The Last Ronin. It looks like this game is going to be heavily influenced by God of War. It's going to feature some RPG elements, and not much is known other than that right now. Taylor, what do you think about the potential of The Last Ronin being adapted to a video game format?
So The Last Ronin was probably one of the coolest books that I've read in a while. I was able to pick up every one of the individual issues. Thought they were amazing. I loved the twist when they finally revealed who the Ronin was.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, if you don't know who the Ronin is,
Don't say it.
Really out of the loop.
Yeah.
But it was such a cool book. It was dark. It was weird. It felt a lot like the Dark Knight Returns and kind of vibe that they were going for with like Batman, and like kind of just, I'm done. Like, this is essentially what this turtle is. He's like, my whole family's dead. I'm done. I'm ending this. And they had these. They really delved deep into the hardcoreness of the old school comics with like the weird and the stuff like that. Because you had the new Shredder-esque villain had this like liquid metal armor, and it was something pretty cool. And then the book ends, basically like, okay, book is over, universe is over. And now they're doing another new set of books of The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, which is a prequel to The Last Ronin. So I'm just like, oh my God, they're doing it. So there's so much that they can do with this storyline. If they get the same writers on board, if they get that going, like 100%, it could be like the next Arkham game, because they got Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird did this. They were the original guys from Ninja Turtles, and the fact that they came back and did their canonized ending to the franchise is like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
I want them to be at least consultants on this game and guide the story the way they want to. And if they do that, 100%. This game will be huge.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. Having and definitely one basing it off the source material that they created, but if they're involved as well, that's a double perk for this game, and it's it only looks up from there. Let's talk about the next topic here. Nintendo has released a free Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom companion guide just a couple of months before the game is released. This guide is free for download and features the first couple areas of the game. Taylor, have you taken a look at this PDF?
I have. It's 50 pages long. It's pretty rad that they just gave it to everybody. It doesn't.
It's a hefty booklet at 50 pages, definitely.
Yeah. It's one of those booklets that I think like I could go down to like they don't have Kinko's anymore, do they? What's the equivalent of Kinko's now?
I think it's Office Max.
Office Max. I'll just go down to one of those and have them like print me out a book and like spiral it and make it like a book, because I like physical strategy guides. I'm old school like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if you could print it to make it small enough to fit in the actual, case itself,
It's 50 pages. That'd be bigger than the case, even if it was smaller.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. I would just make it like standard strategy guide book size and stick it on my shelf with all my other strategy guides, because I
just give it a glossy print, nice glossy print.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite things about having my old guides was that when the remakes are coming out and you're finding out that they're the same game, I'm like, oh my god, my guide's useful again. Happened with Crisis Core when I found out the source code was exactly the same and they gave it a facelift. I was like, the guide is applicable, and I slapped it down and found all the secret boxes and all the secret endings and stuff like that. Like, lots of fun stuff. So the fact that Nintendo just gave this away for free is clearly them embracing the new internet age where strategy guides don't sell, but they're also sending a lot of traffic toward themselves instead of allowing IGN to come out with the guide first. They're like,
right,
we already did it for you. Boom.
Right. And it gets ahead of the curve too, because there are going to be some potential leaks from the beginning of the game that come out as we get closer to the date, and that's just them acknowledging this and giving something back to the players. I think it is very well put together.
It is very well put together. It's very pretty too. Like, the art is really cool.
It's like an official guide.
It is an official guide, and it's like, I mean, it's 50 pages, but it is 2 pages per page.
Mm-hmm.
So the guide itself is numbered 1 through 100, and like, you have like the first handful of pages is, here's the canon up to this point, and it's like a whole recap of the whole franchise, and then it like goes into, this is what happened in the last game, this is what the Amiibos did in the last game. Like, it is a straight up physical guide that has been just not printed yet, and it is very nostalgic looking through this, because it's exactly what I wanted from an old guide. I'm just scrolling through it right now to see where we're at, and honestly, I'm already halfway through the guide. Yeah, I'm already more than halfway through the guide, and I haven't even gotten to the stuff that's made just for this game. It's basically just recapping everything you need to know about the last game, and all the controls for the last game, and everything else. And it's like, here's how dressing works, how this works, and here's 10 pages, here's how, and now we go, okay, now I'm on the last like 20 pages, and here's the stuff that's applicable just to the new game. And holy crap, this thing is huge, and it's so cool.
Yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. It's free, so you can just download it and print it at your discretion. I want to talk about these animated shorts that Capcom's putting out. So Resident Evil 4 is releasing. It's out already, correct? I believe it is.
The reviews have already come out. I haven't picked it up, but I'm pretty sure it's out. I mean,
right. So definitely embargo is out. I'm pretty sure by the time we broadcast this, it'll be out. If it's not out already, it'll be out this Friday for sure. And
just Google it.
We'll Google it real quick. And so in anticipation of its release, Capcom is releasing these animated, cute little animated shorts.
It comes out tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow, definitely. So in anticipation, these cute little animated shorts have been debuting. They're about a minute long, 2 minutes at most, and it's they're hilarious.
It's so weird. Like, I looked at them and I'm like, this reminds me of it's striking like a core memory somewhere, but I can't place what it reminds me of, where you have this like really dark and twisted stuff done in a very cartoony way. Like, I'm like, I've seen this before. Someone else has done something like this.
It reminds me of those Sanrio animations from like back in the day.
Where, like it 100% looks like this like Hello Kitty kind of a cartoon. Yeah. Also like pretty, like there's tentacles coming out of that dog, and there's a guy chasing him with chainsaw. Like
chainsaw.
There was one anime that did something like this, that it was insanely, it was almost like ridiculously graphic and gross, but it was all cartoony and kiddish, and I'm like,
and cute.
Who did something like this? And it'll come to me some other time, but it was, when I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, of course, Capcom. Of course, you would let the Resident Evil team pull this off.
So I remember one in particular. I think it was the second episode where Leon is chasing the president's daughter through the castle, and she's getting abducted multiple times, and each time he's chasing her, you see an additional bandage being added on, and him getting whacked out of existence, and like, it's great. I think that the third one had them asking an old man for help, and he was like, sure, and he picks up a chainsaw and throws on the bag over his head and starts chasing them with the chainsaw. They're awesome. They're great, and they're only a minute long, so they're easy to digest like on a on a quick toilet break or something.
Yeah, like I could literally pause myself right now, watch all 4 of them, and by the time we get to the next topic, I'd be done. So it's like,
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of the next topic, let's talk about our 3 main topics. The first one's going to be the GameStop story. So seems like GameStop shocked investors this week by announcing that the company has earned the profit since the first time since 2021.
yeah,
This Tuesday, they had a quarterly earnings call, and they announced that they were $48.2 million in profit for the fourth quarter of 2022, which for GameStop right now, which is been hemorrhaging money. This is a miracle that they're even in the red here.
yeah, and it's interesting because I'm looking at it now because they talked about this, and GameStop stock went up. I mean, obviously it went down a little bit because after they went spiked up, a bunch of people started selling to get their profit back. But they said that the shares of the company actually bumped up 40% during the pre-market trading because of this announcement, which is fantastic because it's nothing like the crazy, like, let's everyone on Reddit like make GameStop successful like it did a few years ago. But this is like an actual legitimate, the holiday season this year made them actual profits. And that's huge because they haven't seen that since pre-pandemic times. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I know they've been closing a lot of stores as of recent too, so that probably has a lot to do with the profit line increasing this year.
Yeah.
A lot of layoffs, a lot of closures, consolidating their stores.
I mean, and it definitely helps that they actually had PlayStation 5s and Xboxes in stock for this holiday season. That was a huge win for them because people were able to go to the store and get those. They were also going to the store, buying all the other stuff, and it actually gave them record profits for the last few years, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, in an industry that's swiftly moving towards digital, GameStop's got to do whatever they can to stay alive. And I think having those consoles readily available now definitely helps push UPT and increase, the amount of software that they actually are able to sell per unit. Definitely. How much longer do you think GameStop's going to be around for with this increased push for digital, though? Honestly,
I think it's kind of a unique thing because GameStop's biggest issue was themselves. And it wasn't so much that people didn't like going and buying physical games, is that people were kind of losing the environment that they were pushing wasn't working for people anymore. So GameStop seems that they finally got wise a little bit and they're working in a way that's not really shooting themselves in the foot, which is huge. And I think also because of the pandemic and how like Amazon Prime doesn't offer 2-day shipping anymore, people realize that it's just faster to go physically get things. And GameStop did benefit a lot from that. So I think with the market being what it is, and realistically, a lot of people, as much as they like digital gaming, because of the Nintendo eShop closing this week and because of all these things, we all are kind of realizing that physical gaming is not as convenient, but it's much more secure if you want to replay these games later on the line.
eShop meaning the Wii U and the 3DS closures.
Yeah, the Wii U, 3DS. They officially closing tomorrow is their last day.
Correct.
Yeah, so I for instance, I dusted off my 3DS and downloaded everything I needed to purchase the last couple of games I wanted to, and we'll see what happens there because I have a feeling that once they kind of did this rush on the bank thing where they're like, oh, we're gonna close it down, and then the moment they close it down, they're like, and if you have a Nintendo Switch, here's all those games, and like oh, I just bought them. Like I feel like that's coming, but we'll see what they do.
Now, you haven't had any issues with your Wii, slightly changing topics here, because I know that a lot of people are having issues with their Wiis not working after extended periods of time. Have you experienced anything like that?
I actually don't have a Wii U. I know I didn't
buy
that console.
Okay.
I know a lot of people did have that issue, and a cousin of mine bought one. So a guy came into his GameStop and was like, hey, I want to trade this in. And he's like, we don't take those. Sorry, man. And then as the guy was leaving, he's like, well, I could just throw it away then. And he's like, no. Give me your phone number. I'll buy it from you separately. And he just scored like this, like a 3DS and like 20 games off this guy for like $50 because the guy was just about to throw it away. And
That's a come up.
Yeah, he's like, oh my god, and he was like so excited, and he hooked it all up, and it was pretty rad. But we'll see what happens. His didn't die, and I see that there are a lot of reports of them just being kind of bricked on their own, which is
I think what's happening is that there's like cheap memory that they installed at the time. It wasn't the top quality, and so now you're seeing some of those boards die out. And
yeah, well, I mean, the same thing happened with the first generation Xbox. I mean, the first generation Xbox wasn't made of the best stuff, so you're finding a lot of people dusting these things off or buying them secondhand, and they just don't work because the chips are old. And there's definitely a huge modding community out there that can show you how to fix them, but it's still like, unless you know how to use a soldering gun, it's a task.
And like you said, with the soldering, it takes a certain skill level of soldering knowledge to accomplish those type of mods. It's not
super hard. You just gotta pop the old solder out, put the new stuff down, and it's not bad, but you don't.
There's a lot of room for error, though.
You don't want to learn how to do it on a project like this. Like, learn elsewhere, then do this.
It's like an intermediate type of task.
Yeah. It's not hard. It's not expert level, but it's also not the thing that you should do on your first go.
So let's talk about our second to last topic for today. This is a double because it kind of relates to each other. So
do we want to talk about that weird F-Zero thing?
Oh yeah, so we totally forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me about this. I totally wanted to talk about this, and I totally forgot about it. So F-Zero AX, for people who don't know, is the arcade iteration of F-Zero GX, which was available on the GameCube. Recently, the modding community have someone had found a GameCube with a copy of the AX edition of F-Zero inside of a GameCube. And so, the modding community quit to work, ripped this disc into an ISO format, and leaked it online. And so if you're swift and good with your ISO finding skills, you can go on the nets right now and download the AX version of F-Zero, fully playable on a modded GameCube. If you have a Pico mod GameCube, you can
speaking of the Pico mod, people don't realize how insanely easy the Pico mod is to set up.
Have you done the Pico mod?
Yeah, I have two GameCubes, one that's been modded, one that's a standard.
Now explain how easy that is. Like, how long did that take you?
It's a chip.
So you're basically flashing a Pi.
That's all it is. It's like, just plug it in your computer, make sure it's all run, hit it, pop the thing in, and that's it. Like, it's not like I remember, like, during my youth, when I was one of them rebel youths, I got my PlayStation 1 modded so I could run burn discs. That was harder than this. This was so easy. I mean, the internet and walkthroughs and literally how great communities are. Like, I mean, even if they take this ISO down, there's going to be a Discord group somewhere that's going to be like, "You want it?"
It's already on the net, so it's someone cannot just upload it to Internet Archive, and it's there forever. It's not ever going to get removed. So,
I mean, I think I actually had a harder time flashing 200 games onto my Super NES Classic than I did with setting up the Pico mod. It's such an easier system.
So this ISO also works with the Dolphin emulator as well. So if you have a computer or an Xbox Series console that runs Dolphin, you can play this iteration of F-Zero AX on the emulator as well. So we're going to fire that up later tonight and give it a go as well. Looking very much forward to playing that. Thank you for bringing that up, because I kind of forgot about that with all this news, and I wanted to talk about that, and I completely forgot about it.
To find, and like, an arcade version of a console game is clearly the more superior for most cases, and it's just so cool that now they're like, oh, it's working now, so you can play your vanilla version of the game, or you can play the better version.
Right, because the arcade version ran on the Triforce board, which is essentially a GameCube. They had the Triforce on display at E3 many years ago. I was lucky enough to see it in person. It was kind of cool, and so basically just running on GameCube guts, and it works on GameCube. So if you got a Pico mod in your GameCube, download the ISO, burn it, play it. You could also run it through the mod, the memory card mod. I'm skipping on the name right now. Help me out here, Taylor. And Dolphin as well. So
I'm drawing blanks right now. I don't know. It's been
it's
a long.
okay. Let's move on
All
to the next topic. Okay. Next topic is the Microsoft topic. So Microsoft is kind of starting to show their colors a little bit when it comes to some of the companies that they're buying out. In relates to Call of Duty and Bethesda. So
as we've been saying, literally on every show, Sony is not liking the idea of Activision Blizzard being bought by Microsoft. Microsoft keeps saying, we're not going to do what you're threatening us of doing. And then what did they say just the other day? We'll give you 10 years to find a good competitor. Like
they basically said that 10 years is sufficient enough time for Sony to develop their own Call of Duty alternatives.
Which is exactly what I said, that Sony doesn't want them to pull the games after 10 years. And they basically said, after 10 years, we're pulling the games, but that's enough time for you to figure out something else. And I'm like, oh my God, Microsoft, why are you being like this?
So they actually kind of already did this recently with another game that's kind of breaking news right now. So apparently Redfall is a game that's coming out to Xbox and PC, Game Pass day one. And this game was developed as first a PlayStation 5 title. And so once Microsoft bought the company, they gave strict orders to can the PlayStation 5 development of this game.
Yeah, the developer came out of nowhere and spoke with IGN France. It was Arcane's Harvey Smith said flat out, we got bought by Microsoft, and there was this huge sea of change. They said, no PlayStation 5. We're going to do Game Pass, Xbox, and PC. And they literally canned the PS5 version of this game and had everyone focus on Microsoft.
Shift all their resources into the PC and Xbox version.
Which I really would like to see the windfall that this guy is going to get after this. Because the game is a huge game that's due coming out the first week of May. And a lot of people are excited for this game, but then this guy literally just threw the company that owns his company under the bus.
And couldn't have done it at a worse time too, when they're trying to prove the regulators that this is not what the intent of their company is.
Yeah. You know? And when Sony's like, you've done this before, and they're like, where's the proof? And then this guy comes out and said, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
That is a huge, huge red flag that Microsoft is now going to have to deal with. And if this guy survives this, I don't think he will. I think this game will come out, and then 6 months from now, you're going to see this headline where Harvey Smith departed the company after X amount of years due to creative differences. You know, you're going to see something like that happen.
Again, like you said, it's just Sony has all this worry that they're going to do with Call of Duty, what's happening with Redfall. And with these new comments about, 10 years is enough time to create your own Call of Duty competitor. That's kind of just showing their colors right there. You know, they say that they want, it is in their best interest to have Call of Duty on as many consoles and hardware as possible. But at the same time, actions speak louder than words. And these words are, your actions and are manifesting themselves, with Redfall. This is what the future of your company is going to look like if Microsoft buys you out. If you're a new IP that has, that's in development, you're definitely going to be an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
We saw that with Hi-Fi Rush. That's PC, Steam, and Xbox Game Pass exclusive.
Yeah.
Redfall is going to be the same way. Starfield is going to be the same way, and you're going to see that more and more. Potentially, who knows what happens when the next iteration of Doom gets announced? Is that going to be an Xbox exclusive as well,
or it'll probably just be Xbox and PC only? Realistically, I don't believe for a second that Microsoft is going to put all this money into the dev team and not give themselves the edge there. I mean, if they give you the version of the game, it'll be like what happened with like the more recent Final Fantasy games, where Sony is paid for these games to be made, and they're timed exclusive. So you'll have like 2-3 years where you won't get to play this game, and then you'll get it when, we'll give you the last Doom game when the second the sequel comes out, and then we'll go from there. Like they're gonna
or pared down versions, like they were telling, like where maybe the PlayStation 5 version maxes out at 1440p and the Xbox Series X bumps up all the way to 4K. You know, you'll see that, and that's all but a certainty.
Yeah, and that's undoubtedly an issue. But at the same time, I also see if this deal goes through, I could see Sony just be like, well, fuck you guys, and just like use that $5 billion that they're sitting on to start buying a ton of things that will just strangle Microsoft.
Like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, we just bought Rockstar. Suck it. You know?
We just bought Take-Two. So that includes 2K games. There goes BioShock. That was a big time Xbox franchise, you know, first on Xbox.
Yeah.
All the 2K games, the 2K wrestling, gone. You know.
I could see this turn into a very dirty mud fight. And Sony literally said, like, we're not doing what you're doing. And they're like, and Microsoft's like, we're not doing that. And now this guy comes out and says, you're definitely doing that. So it's very bad. Because, I mean, Sony bought Bungie and has kept their word and hasn't let it. And they basically say they're going to keep their autonomy. We just want to make movies and do other stuff with it. And we're going to do that. Like, but Microsoft doesn't have the benefit of having their own movie studio and on everything else. Like, so their whole thing is we're going to buy things and we're going to make exclusives. And it's a dirty fight. We'll see what happens.
So the last story we want to talk about today is going to be GDC is this week. And so with GDC, Unreal Engine had a keynote presentation. And with that, they released a bunch of videos and demonstrations that give us a glimpse at the future of graphics in video games. And Taylor, holy cow, dude. Like, some of the stuff I'm seeing here is mind-blowing that most of this stuff is going to be possible on my PlayStation 5 and Series X. We had Ninja Theory showing off Hellblade. We had a new Unreal editor for Fortnite. We also had
that's what this amazing stuff is.
and a live. Well, that's all Fortnite. Those are all the graphics increases for Fortnite because it's gonna be running on Unreal Engine 5, and even that is leaps and bounds an improvement over what it was. But there was one particular demo that I want
to do this fight right here wearing my Tron armor because I have my Tron armor. I want to do this fight wearing because I have Boba Fett, I've got the Mandalorian, and I've got Tron, and those are the only three that I actually work to get. I cannot wait.
There's a video that I want to talk about before we end the show today, and this video blew my mind. There's a terrain video, which is not the video I'm speaking of, where basically they kind of have this ghostless avatar enter a truck and he drives around and it shows off all the different shades of lighting within the rainforest. It's amazing. Go check it out. But the video that blew my mind the most was the MetaHuman facial recognition software. And so basically what this is in a nutshell is it takes a pre-rendered visual of a character, let's say Senua from Hellblade 2. And so the lady on the stage walks in front of a camera, no dots on her face, recites a couple lines, gives emotes a few emotions, and almost instantly the computer processes all these emotes, all these dialogue lines, all the stretches and articulation in the face, and transports it to the rendering model. Mind-blowing stuff, Taylor.
Yeah.
What did you think about this?
When I saw it, I honestly, it threw me off by how just insane this system is. Like, you don't see this kind of stuff. It's like, this is generations ahead where I thought we were actually at.
Generations ahead.
And the fact that this is stuff that is happening right now, you see all these rumors of Sony getting prepping their new PlayStation 5 Pro that's meant to handle this kind of stuff. And it's like, you're telling me that I thought that I had a few years away before I had to go buy an 8K TV. And you're telling me that some of this stuff that's coming out is going to make me want to get one sooner. And you can literally have, like, the biggest gripe that people had with the Harry Potter game, Hogwarts Legacy, was how wooden the character felt in communication with other characters, because it was a standard frame that they had to make work with all the different customizable stuff. But you're saying that this technology is going to come out and completely revolutionize game creation like that. Like, motion capture is not going to work the same way it was. We're not going to spend months doing motion capture anymore. You're going to have
take days.
You're going to have
maybe even on spot live.
They're going to be doing motion capture while they're recording the lines in the studio. They're going to be standing there, and the camera's going to be like, "Got it," you know, like as they're just recording the lines.
On spot rendering.
It's so cool. It's like, I cannot believe that this is the technology that they're just putting out right now.
Definitely. And like, you know, it's really it really is mind-blowing stuff. If you have a chance to watch that video, watch it. And every time they show a demonstration of this working, the crowd erupts in thunderous applause. It's, you know, it's a room full of their peers, and the fact that they're this excited about this tech speaks volumes,
because they know exactly what it means. It's going to save them time and money, and that's huge.
Like, this literally shaves months off of the development process. Like, I mean, literally,
we knew, for, like, take any big AAA game, The Last of Us, for instance, where they had to basically every scene that you weren't playing, they had to mocap. And the game took forever to make. And then we know that, like, again, I keep bringing this up, Final Fantasy VII Remake, the engine was done. They had everything planned, but then they had to mocap the second game. And that's why it's been, 2-3 years between games?
Right.
This system comes out. If someone like Square buys into it, starts using it right off the bat, we could see part 3 in like a year, you know?
Yeah.
Just completely take away all the studio time that they would be wasting doing previs and pre-rendering and mocap for all of the scenes. You could just be like, it's done. Huzzah.
It's done. Yeah. You literally get it done in that week. And, you know, like you said, it speeds up the development of these games vastly. Like, what took months takes days now. And, you know, and just as this affects the gaming industry, this affects the film industry too. Imagine how much quicker their tech, you know, and now that they're using Unreal Engine for their movies and whatnot, you know, borrowing the same type of tech, you're only going to see more advancements like this. It leaves me speechless, Taylor.
You have these movies now that are adapting this Unreal technology, and to me, there's good examples and bad examples of how this stuff is coming about. Like, the good example I always point out is the Batman, where a lot of people knew that the film filmed on location, but then you see that they use those video stages a few times in that movie, and they're almost seamless. And you're like, wait, that's not real? None of that's real? Like,
it's hard to tell.
And then the bad example, obviously, for me, was like Ant-Man and the Wasp, where there's a couple of scenes where you're like, okay, clearly they're standing on a flat platform and all this is being projected around them because it wasn't done to the best of their ability. And that goes back to their recent controversies and all that with Marvel. But you have this stuff now coming out that they can basically say, like, okay, now we're not only going to be able to pull off what Warner Brothers did with the Matrix tech demo for Unreal Engine, but we can pull it off in real time,
right?
In movies, and you can not only, like, because that tech demo was pretty rad, but also it went seamless in between real time and what you're playing
and gameplay, right?
And now it's going to be just all real time, and that's just, I don't even know.
The possibilities are endless, man.
I was joking with my wife when my son was born about a year and a half ago that when I was a kid, the most advanced game that came out was Paperboy, right? And I'm like, and when Owen's my age, video games will probably look better than real life.
Oh yeah.
And people will look outside and be like, "Oh, it's not as clear as my game is," like
Ready Player One status. Let me put on the headset.
exactly. I mean,
Yep.
to me, that's what this reminds me of because the jump that we've had with VR in the last few years has been pretty great, and the PlayStation VR 2 has had a significantly big impact on the VR tech. Like the Oculus is fun and all, but if the VR 2 technology was adapted by the Oculus, it'd be a game changer. But the always issue for me is the realism of the world you're in. And if something like this is being developed now, that realism, like you said, is Ready Player One style. Like it's getting to a level where the uncanny valley is going to be gone. And
right. And I was just gonna mention that Uncanny Valley too, because with Senua's with the Hellblade 2 Senua demo that just recently came out, the one using the meta human tech, and the other one, the Fallen, I forget, it's on Xbox, but with these recent demos, you're starting to see the Uncanny Valley blending out now, and it's starting to look lifelike, and it's almost hard to distinguish. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And so, yeah, you're starting to see that uncanny valley, fading away, and you're starting to have a harder time separating what's digitized and what's actually really, flesh. You know what I
and
mean?
I like to always point out because there was the recent Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie that came out. They made a big joke about the Uncanny Valley and how bad it was for a long time. And you have movies where like let me just pull up the best example of the worst Uncanny Valley to this day. Do you remember the movie?
Which one?
Polar Express.
Oh yes. Oh my god.
Right?
Oh
right. It's so bad. But if you jump from that to now this,
it's night and day.
Night and day.
Like you almost would have to convince somebody that this image right here is a video game.
Yeah.
Like the reflections in the eyes and the emotions being emoted, it's just, it's and that's using that face cap, that meta-human face capturing tech that
and
we were just talking about.
It's funny because like a lot of Hollywood has always been kind of tricking how Uncanny Valley works in films. Like with Avatar and Gollum for Lord of the Rings. What was the trick? What was the way that they got around with that Uncanny Valley issue? It was they changed the proportions of the people.
Oh yeah.
You change the proportions, you hide the Uncanny Valley and the fact that it's not human looking. But then you also have the same thing where you had Tron Legacy, where that intro scene with Flynn didn't quite work.
where it's the younger one talking to his son.
Yeah. But then for the rest of the movie, it was okay because the clue blended well with the background. But that one intro scene didn't work. So now you have this new technology that's coming out, and we'll start getting more stuff like what we saw in Book of Boba Fett, where the second season of Luke looked almost seamless compared to the weird one we got in the second season of The Mandalorian. Like, I don't know, the impact that this technology is going to have is not going to be just the games. It's going to go into movies. It's going to go to TV, and it's going to be obscene.
Definitely.
And it's going to only improve from there. This time next year, we'll see some crazy stuff that we would not even thought of last year.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, because I think once all the developers start to get their Unreal Engine 5.2 dev kits and really start diving into the mechanics and minutia of the development of it and the ease that it offers, you're gonna see stuff like this more often, and
it's gonna be cool.
Next gen, the current gen is officially really beginning now.
And this is the coolest thing was the video that they did this where they showed the face, and then they showed that they could just flip through other faces seamlessly and just convey.
Yeah, again, that was part of the metahuman thing that blew my mind was at the end when she was doing all that. Like you said, they show different models that they already have pre-rendered, and they at a whim they could just change from a young girl to an older man to a younger Asian lady to a Hispanic guy, just at a whim. You know what I mean? Like
beep boop beep boop. The future.
Amazing. Yeah. So that's going to wrap up our show for today. A lot of stuff to talk about. Thank you for joining me today, Taylor, and helping us out with the show today. And that's going to wrap it up for today. You can find me at Moses, IVVIOC. You can find Taylor at theculturednerd.com. We want to point out our Patreon, patreon.com/theculturednerd. Look for our show's tier. You can support all the other shows. I am your host, Jason Carmona. We want to thank all our Patreon supporters, Wesley Ashabek. Hold on, I'm going to read those. Connor, Anna, Salib, Oscar, Craig, Mitch, and Steven. We want to give a shout out to Jose Navarro for creating the logo. And we want to shout out Mike Malello for helping us create the intros as well. Thank you for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Click subscribe to get more. And go ahead and scan that QR code to get exclusive content. Thank you again for watching, guys, and have a great day.